People pressed closer, phones rising like anxious stars as the lights washed over a trembling man in a faded gold suit. The air felt electric, charged with the kind of curiosity that can either lift a soul or shatter it. Someone whispered, "Who is he?" Another murmured, "This better be good." Then, a hush. A cough. A nervous laugh. And suddenly, a voice. A voice so hauntingly familiar it froze the entire hall in disbelief. The crowd leaned forward as if pulled by gravity. Eyes widened. Mouths parted. Some actually checked their screens to make sure they weren't hearing a recording. Because the man on stage didn't look anything like a star. He looked like someone life had folded in half, too thin, too tired, too easily overlooked. His name was Tomas, a janitor who swept this very floor every night. He never complained, never asked for anything more than a quiet corner to hum old melodies while mopping. But tonight, fate had tapped him on the shoulder. The scheduled singer hadn't shown, the organizer was panicking, and someone whispered, "Isn't that the guy who sings while cleaning?" Tomas almost refused. Almost hid in the shadows he was so used to. Almost stayed invisible. But he remembered his mother's words. "Your gift isn't for applause, Anik. It's for light. Wherever you shine it, someone will find their way." So he stepped forward. Under the glow of cheap bulbs and flickering LEDs, Tomas transformed. The gold suit, though faded, seemed to brighten. His posture straightened. His eyes softened with something like courage. And when he reached the final trembling note, pure, powerful, impossible, the hall erupted, not with polite claps, but with the roar of people witnessing a miracle rise from the simplest of places. In that moment, Tomas was no longer overlooked. He was unforgettable. By morning, Tomas's performance had spread like wildfire across every corner of the internet. People woke up to his voice drifting through their feeds, stitched into stories, shared between friends, whispered across breakfast tables. Some said it made them smile for the first time in weeks. Others said it made them cry without knowing why. Millions watched. Millions shared. Millions felt something. But Tomas knew none of it. At dawn, he rose the way he always did, quietly, humbly, before the sky had finished stretching. He swept the courtyard with slow, practiced strokes. It was the rhythm of a life he had mastered, one where no one looked twice at the man holding the broom. His faded gold suit hung outside, still damp with last night's sweat, fluttering in the morning breeze like a forgotten flag. People walked past him scrolling on their phones, watching the very video that had captured his soul. Some even murmured, "Have you seen this guy?" without noticing the man behind the broom was the same one behind the voice. Then Marina appeared, breathless, glowing with disbelief. She held out her phone. "Sir, this is you." He stared, confused, as comments sped across the screen. "He saved my day. Who is this angel? This voice feels like home." Tomas blinked back tears. "Why would they, like me?" Marina smiled, choking up. "Because you reminded people they're not alone." But beneath Tomas's awe, something heavy stirred. A fear. A memory. The world had never seen him so clearly before. What if they dug deeper? What if they learned why he had stopped singing? Why he had disappeared? He whispered to himself, almost pleading, "Please, not again." The light felt too bright. And for the first time, Tomas didn't know if he was ready to step into it. The community hall buzzed like a hive the next day, reporters setting up tripods, volunteers rearranging chairs, strangers peeking through doors hoping to catch a glimpse of the man whose voice had shaken the world awake. But Tomas sat alone backstage, shoulders curled inward, hands folded as if holding something fragile and invisible. Marina slipped inside quietly. "They're all waiting for you. Are you all right?" Tomas didn't answer at first. He stared at the floor, breathing in slow, uneven waves. "Everyone thinks I'm someone I'm not," he finally murmured. Marina knelt beside him. "Then tell me who you are." The words came out broken at first, then steady, like a confession freed after too many years in silence. He explained how, long ago, he had been offered a chance to sing professionally. Not just small bars or local events, real stages, real audiences, a real future. But just as the door opened, life slammed another shut. His father fell ill, the bills piled up, and Tomas walked away from everything he had worked for. "I told myself it was temporary," he whispered. But temporary became forever. He took any job he could. Cleaning floors. Moving boxes. Working nights so the household could breathe. He carried dreams quietly, like folded letters he never mailed. Marina's eyes glistened. "But that's not failure," she said softly. "That's love. That's honor." Tomas shook his head. "People want a legend. Not a man who gave up his dream." Just then, the backstage door opened. His sister stepped in, still wearing her work apron, tears already gathering. She wrapped her arms around him. "Kuya. Dad always said your voice was brave. Not because of the songs, but because of what you gave up." Tomas closed his eyes. He wasn't sure he deserved the world's attention. But maybe, he deserved forgiveness from himself. The invitation to the charity event arrived folded neatly, as if afraid to overwhelm him. Tomas held it with trembling hands. He had never been invited anywhere as a guest, only as staff, the quiet man who swept the confetti after dreams were over. Now they wanted him on stage, on purpose. He almost said no. Fame still felt like a spotlight pointed at wounds he hadn't fully healed. But Marina and his sister stood beside him, their faith steady and warm. "This isn't about being a star," his sister whispered. "It's about being seen for the life you've lived." So he agreed. The venue glowed with anticipation that night. Rows of seats packed with people who had watched his viral video over and over until they memorized the tremble in his voice. When Tomas stepped on stage, there were no gold suits, no gimmicks, just a simple white shirt, clean and honest, like a new beginning. He cleared his throat. "I'm not here as an impersonator," he said gently. "I'm here as a son, who made choices that were heavier than any note I could sing." The crowd hushed, breathing as one. Tomas spoke of his father, of lost opportunities, of working nights in silence while the world slept. "If my voice touched you," he said, "it's because it carries everything I ever sacrificed." Then he began to sing. This time, it wasn't nostalgia they heard. It wasn't imitation. It was truth, raw, brave, unfiltered. His voice cracked in places, strengthened in others, rising with decades of love and grief finally released. Halfway through, applause erupted, not at the end, but right in the middle, breaking him open. They weren't cheering the melody. They were cheering the man reclaiming himself. At the ceremony's close, a group stepped forward with a framed certificate, honorary recognition for a lifetime of quiet service. Tomas's hands shook as he accepted it. For the first time in his life, the applause didn't feel borrowed. It felt earned. After the charity show, Tomas expected nothing more than polite smiles and quick handshakes. He was ready to slip away quietly, the way he always had. But the organizer gently stopped him. "Don't leave yet," she said. "There's someone who's been waiting to meet you." From the back of the room emerged a young man carrying a guitar case. He looked nervous, almost reverent, as if approaching someone sacred. "Sir Tomas," he said softly, "you don't know me, but your father helped raise me." Tomas froze. My father?" The young man nodded. "When you worked nights and your family struggled, he watched me after school. He shared stories about his son, the one with the voice that could calm storms. He talked about your courage, how you gave up everything for him. He carried so much guilt for taking your future." Tomas felt his throat close. He had never known this. The young man opened the guitar case. Inside lay a beautifully restored vintage microphone, silver, gleaming, cared for with devotion. "Your father saved every spare coin for years to buy this," he said. "He wanted to give it to you as a thank you, and an apology. But he never got the chance. Before he passed, he asked me to find you someday and make sure this dream found its way back to you." The room fell silent, breathless. Tomas lifted the microphone with shaking hands. It was heavier than he expected, not with weight, but with meaning. A lifetime wrapped in chrome and memory. He whispered, "Thank you, Papa." Tears streamed freely, but they were soft, grateful tears, tears of healing. And in that moment, Tomas didn't feel like a viral star. He felt like a son finally receiving the blessing he had waited his whole life to hear.